What is going on, grinders? It's Chief, it's TJ, it's Cheese. We've got a TCC weekend, not a TWT weekend. Welcome aboard. It's Grinders Live and Crunch Time put together. There's no actual Grinders Live today, so you have to deal with just Crunch Time. Hopefully we answer those questions. We will take you right up to lock. I'm not sure if you caught the Roto Grinders Twitter. Our good friend Cheese is Good was not outside making cheese, but he was making some ribs on the big green egg. Cheese, we saw the beauty. He even opened it up and showed it to us. In fact, I think those ribs are in a special bag right now, resting. Juices are permeating. Everything's going well in the world. We saw some Northern Lights, sponsored by Kevin Roth. Cheese, how's it going down there?
It's going great. Yeah. I mean, last night I was up later than usual to see the Northern Lights as sponsored by Kevin Roth. It was great. I had his name in lights. So I put up a Kevin Roth banner, and the light. We could actually see him here in Alabama. Beautiful. So, and a great slate on top of it all.
Yeah, for sure. Slow 7 game on a Saturday. I am already in. I do need the Kansas City Royals. Excuse me, not to go ahead to football. I do need the Royals lineup, but I think the guys I have in are going to play.
We just got the Royal lineup literally 1 second ago.
Okay.
And we have no Michael Massey and no Dayron Blanco.
Okay, that doesn't affect me at all. That's great.
A little Blanco in there.
In for them are Isbell and Melendez.
Okay. Yeah, as long as the big three are in there for me, which are Garcia, Sal Pal, and Witt, I am okay. I didn't stack them today. But don't mind the stack. Obviously, I just didn't quite get there. I was trying to cut some players out. TJ, in the big big country of Canada. I'm saying continent. We're all in the same continent. Big country of Canada, Saskatoon to be exact. How are you doing, sir?
Doing very well. Saturdays are always a very long day for me. Lots of shows, lots of articles. But we got a fun little MLB slate tonight. Despite not many games, there's tons of different great options. So should be fun, and I'm looking forward to diving in.
Absolutely. And before we get this thing started, I just want to shout out Cheese. Anytime I get a chance to do a show with Cheese, I like to take a small trip down memory lane because Cheese definitely influenced my MLB playing. And as I was getting progressively better in MLB, Cheese, this is probably 5, 6, 7 years ago now. I came across a show with you and JM to win called Rotonomics. Do you remember that show?
Absolutely. That was good times. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, they just kind of would break down what certain stats mean and how they use them, what they were looking for. And so if you guys, I'm not sure if you can actually you might be able to find that on YouTube. I'm not sure. But if you can find that show, if you're new, Rotonomics would be a really good place to start for MLB. Cheese, we're going to kick it over to you, and let's just kind of talk pitching generally speaking. I know there might be some slight differences between FanDuel and DraftKings depending on how you want to kind of approach it, but just in general, kind of what's your feel here for this pitching slate?
It's really hard not to spend up on these studs. We haven't seen 4 aces on a slate in a while because there's barely 4 aces left in the league, but we do have 4 of them tonight. And I mean, the cheap stuff I've been playing a lot of cheap pitching this year, but this slate is making it tougher to do. Before we get to the high end stuff, I'll say I do have a little bit of Andrew Heaney, a little bit of Mason Black, and even one random Joey Estes lineup. But between Peralta, Reagans, Lodolo, and Miller, it's really hard to envision winning with like a 10-point game from a pitcher. Like a lot of slates, the reason I'm paying down is because I feel like if I get 10, 12 points from a 6 or 7K pitcher, I'm fine because the top pitchers get 20. Yeah, whatever. But like one of these guys is going to get 30 plus, and maybe 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. And as much as there's a lot of great expensive bats, which there are a ton of cheap bats too, if you're willing to just use your fill-ins for cheap bats. So I think Peralta Reagans is the way to go. And I feel like they should be chalkier than what we're showing. I mean, we're showing essentially a four-way split between these guys. And I do think all four will pick up ownership. I have to think it ends up a little more skewed, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But at the very least, I don't think it's going to be like a huge, massive ownership difference between these guys. And I'm just much higher on Peralta and Reagans. And I only have Bryce Miller in a couple lineups where I just had to have those extra few bucks. And Lodolo is kind of a pivot once I get too many like similar stacks with Peralta and Reagans, and I want something different. I throw Lodolo. So essentially, I have a ton of Peralta and Reagans, and I'm hopeful that maybe the ownership does get split up amongst those four with sprinkles of those cheaper guys like mostly Black and Heaney, that you're not actually just eating a ton of chalk with Peralta and Reagans. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, understood. And I'm fairly similar. I've probably got way more Mason Black than anyone, but it was a little bit more out of necessity than what I wanted to do. I've got more than I wanted, but I'm still well over the field on Peralta, Lodolo, Reagans, and Miller. So I just decided to eat the extra ownership that I didn't want because all my lineups still felt okay. The ones that I didn't have Black in, or the ones that I had Black in, also I felt okay. TJ, how about you? Just in terms of the pitching here, I know Chiefs talked about Peralta and Reagans kind of being his top two. I personally probably, if this ownership is right, I'm double the field on Reagans for what that's worth. What are your thoughts here about pitching?
Yeah, so I'm going to be keeping a very tight pitching pool. I just got a new set of lineups coming in. I have 59% Cole Reagans, 52% Freddie Peralta, 30% Black when I need somebody nice and cheap, and then 30% each of Bryce Miller and Nick Lodolo is kind of my tournament pivots off of Peralta and Reagans. But I don't feel really good about any of the other guys, and I feel pretty solidly about all of these ones except for Black, which is just a mystery. And so I do really like just keeping this tight pool, loading up on Reagans and Peralta, and then about 30% each of Black, Miller, and Lodolo.
Yeah, well, me and TJ have got to start finding different ways to play. I don't know why lately we've seemingly been really close in kind of our approach here, but that's pretty close to what I have in terms of the pitching. Anything else specific? Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cheese, basically what we're saying here is in cash games on DraftKings, you probably want Peralta and Reagans together, and then on FanDuel, one of those, either of those for cash. Is that kind of what we're thinking?
Yeah, I think I would highly recommend paying up for two aces in cash, and I would do Peralta Reagans for sure. And yeah, FanDuel, I think you've got to spend up in cash. I think it would just be silly not to.
Yeah,
you can make plenty of plays to go cheap. I think you could even build a lineup or two with two cheap pitchers and just hope for the best in a tournament. But don't goof around in cash games. Peralta, Reagans, there you go.
Okay, yeah, I think we all agree on that. And I am hosting today, so I'm trying to stay out of the analysis lane. Very hard when you're used to doing the analysis, but I've now told myself that I am hosting, and I host every weekend. Cheese.
Your analysis is welcome, Will. You let it fly.
Yeah, feel free.
Yeah. All right, we're going over to catcher, and let's kind of talk about it on both sides. Because Cheese, the other day you had mentioned, for FanDuel, we try to just avoid catcher, but sometimes catcher is actually really good. I personally think today might be one of those days as well. And I'm not saying like 5 of them, but there's about 4 of them that I probably play on both, maybe 5 now that I'm looking at Gary Sanchez. I'll be quiet. Cheese, catcher, what do we want to do?
Yeah, I agree. We've been seeing all year. Catcher's just fantastic. Like, it's just not a position you're just punting anymore. And I mean, I don't know if there's a way to even look at it. I would guess I've played as many catchers, if not more, than first baseman on FanDuel this season. I do like first base as well tonight. But officially, like, Sal Perez is my favorite guy. I just love him. Will Smith, always a great play. I don't know if I have him outside of a Dodgers stack, although there's nothing wrong with that. Same thing with Jonah Heim. I love Jonah Heim. I don't know if I have him outside of a Rangers stack. I might. But with Cal Raleigh being cheaper on DK, like he's the guy I'm shifting to as a one-off. Elias Diaz is there as well. I'm playing a few punts to get in all my pitchers. I've got a couple Tyler Soderstrom lineups. When you get a 2K catcher who can hit a home run, like even if he goes 0 for 4, that doesn't necessarily kill you if these top guys are just okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stop there. It's a loaded position. I mean, you can play more guys than that, and you can definitely play Gary Sanchez in the mid tier, Mitch Garver, but those expensive guys or just a full punt.
Yep. TJ, over to you. Catcher, both sides. What do you want to do?
Same page for me. It's Will Smith, Soderstrom, Heim, and Raleigh is my only catchers who are double-digit owned today. Got a ton of all 4 of those guys, and then basically everyone else is only in stack. So I like Kyle Higashioka, Mitch Garver, Jacob Stallings, Elias Diaz, and I have a little Sanchez and Kyle McCann as well.
All right, there you have it. That is catcher both sides. TJ, let's take it to first base. You know, who do we like there?
So Shohei Ohtani, I think, is my favorite player on the slate. Let's see, is he my highest owned bat? He is my 3rd highest owned bat, and so he's definitely my highest owned first baseman today. And then after him, I'm actually mostly punting. I'm getting to some Kyle Manzardo, some Hunter Goodman. I do like Nathaniel Lowe, and Freddie Freeman if I can get to him, Reese Hoskins if I can get there, but it's basically Shohei or punt for me.
Okay, sounds good. Dave, over to you. First base, what are we doing?
Pretty similar. I mean, if you can fit Ohtani, like that's what you should do. And I also like the punts a lot. I do have a fair amount of Josh Naylor along with Lowe in the mid-tier. And on FanDuel, Freddie Freeman at 3,500 is in there as well. But as far as the DK punts, like I have a ton of Kyle Manzardo. I've got some Vaughn and Sheets for the White Sox. I've got Mike Ford here and there. There's just a lot of cheap guys with some upside. So like I have less Ohtani than I want because of that. Because both first base and outfield have cheap power. And if you're getting 2 aces, it's really hard to get Ohtani. So I wish he was my highest owned batter, but he's not.
Yeah, same for me. I ended up being right with the field with Ohtani and right with the field with Freddie Freeman. And I was hoping I was going to get maybe 5 or 6% more on one of those. And I just couldn't get it. So I'm going to have to live with the field today. And I'll kind of talk about where my exposures are maybe a little bit later in the show if we make it there. Cheese, we're at first. Let's go to second. Probably the most interesting position on the slate because second's been a lot. It's been, let's call it weak in the middle, good up top, good at the bottom. It feels like to me almost every day. What do we want to do at second base?
Yeah, it's second is probably my least favorite position today. I think it is kind of the weakest here, and it's a weird slate to spend up for Semien. I mean, he's certainly the top play, but like when you compare him to what you're spending at other positions, he's just kind of he's kind of a leftover. So same for like on DK, Jimenez is crazy expensive. I do like playing some bets on FanDuel where he's still dual position eligible. But then like the cheap stuff here is not great either. Like Gavin Lux is fine. Abraham Toro is fine. But the mid-tier stuff also just feels almost overpriced. Like Brendan Rodgers or like Xander Bogaerts. Essentially, the real truth is I don't like a single play. Bryce Terang I like, but he's kind of expensive for Bryce Terang. So this is the position I end up just tossing a random guy in my stack. I think my highest owned player ended up being, and this tells you how dumb the position is, that I didn't even just mention him in the rundown. I think it's Jorge Polanco. Just because it's like I have a little more money than needing to punt to Lux, but I can't quite get up over 4K. and I don't want to play a bunch of Brendan Rodgers outside of stacks.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's Jorge Polanco, but not because I love him.
Yeah, I was kind of forced into a lot more Gavin Lux than I wanted to play. I've got a fair amount of Dodger stacks for what it's worth, so it kind of forced Lux in there. It's kind of one of those slates where some of my ownerships were like a little bit more than I wanted, but I just had to eat it because everything else worked. But I've got a lot of top end pitching today, so I'm just kind of having to suck it up. TJ, second base. What are your thoughts?
Pretty similar. I don't like the position at all. I too am getting to some Polanco, but I don't have more than 20% of a second baseman, and there's only 2 guys in my pool that I have less than 10% of. So it's basically just spread out across the board. Terang and Arias are the only 2 in my pool under 10%. But Toro, Polanco, Bogarts, Jimenez, Semien, Lux, and Rogers are all between 10 and 20. Rogers is the one I'm getting to the most because I'm stacking Colorado a lot. Semien is my favorite if I can afford him.
All right. My highest one is Gavin Lux. My lowest is Arias. And there you have it. That's my exposures there, at least at the top end and the bottom. All right. We're going to third. TJ, third base is really interesting to me today. What are we thinking at third?
Yeah, strong position today, actually. I really love Max Muncy. Josh Rojas works if you need a cheapie. Jose Ramirez has too bad Cardi's not here. Jose Ramirez has been on fire lately. And then Manny Machado is a lefty masher, and so I want to be firing him up as anytime I can against the lefty. The Padres and Rockies are my 2 favorite stacks on the board today for what it's worth. So I love Machado as a one-off or in a stack. And then outside of that, it's basically just guys in stacks. Duran, Smith, Solano, Brian Ramos, Tyler Nevin, Ryan McMahon, guys like that. Michael Garcia.
All right. Cheese, over to you. Third base. Getting interesting. What do we like?
Yeah, it's pretty great. I just want to randomly mention that when you're searching things about Jose Ramirez to find out about his hot streak, which is there's a linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers named Jose Ramirez. And I was like, this guy's not on a hot streak at all. And I don't even understand what's happening now. But anyhow, I do love Jose Ramirez. And I also love Max Muncy and Manny Machado. Like those 3 guys are kind of standing out to me. Agree with the Josh Rojas for some savings. As great as this position is, it does die out quicker than the other stuff. Like there's not a lot of cheap stuff. It's not even that there's not a lot of great cheap stuff. There's just not a lot, period. So basically Rojas and maybe a little Candelario on DK is about as cheap as I'm going outside of a stack. But Ramirez, Machado, Muncy, that's what I want to do.
Sounds good. I am going to go ahead and answer this question from Max Video 35. And he's saying, are we worried about weather in Coors Field? And so the answer is no, at least not based on what Roth put in his report. He's saying it could be a delay, but he expects for them to get the game in fine. So should once the game gets started, it looks like it should be good to go. So I'm not worried about it, Max Video, based on our report from Kevin Roth. All right. Cheese, I think you finished up third. Is that correct?
I believe I did.
Okay. Yeah, let's go to shortstop. Cheese, what do we got?
So we've got several of those elite shortstops we're always talking about. I think I want to say I think Witt's the best play. I don't know. Corey Seager is the best play, and Mookie Betts is the best play. These guys are so great. I have more Seager than Witt or Betts or Ellie De La Cruz. Mostly because just a couple bucks. Like it's not a lot of money. It's a couple $100, but it matters to me on this slate. Mm-hmm. So, and they're all so close to me that I just have more Seager, and I don't feel like I need to be playing him in a stack. If I have a stack, great. If not, great. But where I do have an extra 500 on DK, or I think it's 400 on FanDuel, I am playing Witt ahead of Seager because I just like his ability. Like when you can add in the extra steals, like either of them can hit 7 home runs tonight. But give me the guy who can also maybe get a few steals. The mid-tier's pretty strong, too, compared to some other positions. I like Tovar and Willy Adames. So I don't feel like I have to spend up in every lineup, but I desperately want to if I can. I do have a little Dylan Moore and Ha-Seong Kim. But really, it's Witt, Seager, and Betts for me.
Yeah, same here. I'm about equal, believe it or not, with Betts and Seager today. And Witt was kind of by odd man out. I mean, I didn't get as much ownership. So let me make sure I make that clear. Like I have Bobby Witt, but he's just below Betts and Seager for me today in terms of ownership. TJ, over to you. Shortstop, what do we like?
So I am going to be heavily underweight on Witt and Betts, which is quite terrifying, but I'll be overweight on Corey Seager. And then the other guy that I'm getting to a ton today is Ezekiel Tovar, saving a little bit of salary, getting the leadoff guy there in Coors. Outside of that, I am doing some cheap punts in stacks like a Dylan Moore or Ha-Seong Kim. But Tovar and Seager are going to be my top two guys here by a fairly wide margin. I did see somebody asking in chat about Spidey bombs as well. I was waiting the first one for 50 likes. We're at 46 right now, 48. So give me those couple more likes, get us up over 50. And then I'll do another one at 75 likes if we can get us up over there. So keep smashing the like button. I usually don't go to Coors Field for a Spidey bomb, but I am today because he's my highest owned bat. I like his home run odds. If you want to bet on him, you can find him for plus 480 on FanDuel. And it's Sean Bouchard, Spidey bomb at number 1 today, my favorite outfielder on the slate. Estevan Florial, great salary saving option. You can play Rojas here. Shohei Ohtani you can play here as well, and I'm trying to get as much of him as possible. Tatis is underpriced in this matchup against Paxton. I like him today, but even though I'm going to be heavily overweight on Padres stacks, I'm actually just like even with a field on Tatis today. I do have a lot of Profar. Weirdly enough, Profar is having like a career season so far, so might as well try and keep it going, play him while that's still happening before he falls off. And that's it really for my favorites. Tested. Yeah, or that.
I'm just kidding. I hope he's actually been working out and has improved and has not taken any illegal stuff.
It's interesting
by the league
because he's like top 5 right now in batting average, in hits, like a whole bunch of different things. So it's gonna be interesting to see how long he keeps it up. I do have some cheap punts like Tavares, like Kevin Pillar, like Travis Jankowski, but I don't really like them. I don't mind Outman in the mid-range, but like Bouchard, Florial, and Ohtani are my favorites by a lot. I have 30% each of them, and nobody else is over 15.
All right. Sounds good. TJ, Dave, what are we like in the outfield? Super deep position every day. Like we could just play thousands of people. What are we doing?
We are playing thousands of people. I think that's a good strategy. I love that the Spidey bomb was Sean Bouchard because, like, when he said, "Oh, we're going to go to Coors," I was like, "Hey, Corey Seager, this is a fine call," or whatever. So that's good stuff. I do like the Rockies outfield in general. The expensive stuff is kind of obvious. I mean, yeah, play Ohtani, play Tatis, play Dallas Garcia. I think those 3 kind of stand out. And then from there, it drops off far enough that I think you're fine just playing cheap stuff. There are mid-tier bats that I like, but things that I like more than I should today are like the White Sox, the A's, the Royals. So things like Hunter Renfroe, things like Sheets, things like Butler and Blade. It's like Nelson Velasquez, Hunter Goodman. I really do have a ton of plays. But essentially, I'm not going out of my way to spend up even for those top 3 guys. Kind of like I said at first. I mean, yes, I would love to just play Ohtani in all these lineups, but I would rather get the 2 good pitchers because I feel like all these cheaper outfielders do have upside.
Yeah, I'm not playing single entry today, but if I was, I think I would probably try and play Peralta, Reagans, Ohtani, Seager, and then just the cheapest player I could find at every position.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't mind that call either. I mean, you're going to need the pitching today. I think, like, and I know Dave mentioned it kind of at the onset of the show, and we talked about it during the pitching section. But I think a really great synopsis of this slate is: don't cheat yourself out of the good pitching. Like, you'll probably pay for it by the time the night is over. Dave, is that a good, straightforward way of saying it?
Yes. Like, if you have a bunch of lineups, do sprinkle in a little Mason Black, maybe Heaney.
Yeah.
But for like a primary build, for a single entry, for a higher dollar thing, certainly for a cash game, just play the pitching. It's so good.
Okay. Let's go over the stats. TJ, we'll start with you. Let's just go maybe your favorite two. Let's go your favorite two stats today. Who do we like?
Raw points overall, my favorite two are Texas and LA. Considering ownership and prices for tournaments, my top two are the Colorado Rockies and the San Diego Padres. Those are my top four stacks in general. I'm also getting to some Seattle, Cleveland, Oakland, and the White Sox and some cheapy stuff, but it's those four: Colorado, San Diego, Texas, and the Dodgers. I'm getting the most, with Colorado and San Diego my two favorite for tournaments. Speaking of Colorado, Spidey Bomb number one was obviously Sean Bouchard, and number two, since we've reached enough likes, is Manny Machado. You can find him for plus 400. Love the Padres today. And if we get over 100, I got one third and final Spidey Bomb for the people as well.
Thank you, TJ, for giving me four stacks when I asked for two. Continuing.
Well, I mean, it's tough though, because it's like these two I think are the most likely to score the most runs, but these two are my favorites considering ownership.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want your personal favorite. Dave, give me your top four stacks. Perhaps I will get two.
Yeah, that's a good way to ask for it.
Rank the stacks from 1 to 12 on this slate.
Yeah. So there's really what's funny about this slate, not like funny haha, but just funny, interesting. There's these four great pitchers, and you kind of want to stack against every other pitcher on the slate. So there really are like that many top tier stacks. My highest owned stack almost certainly is the White Sox. So there's a thing.
I wouldn't tell you those prices. You can play the pitching and get the price. Yeah.
Right, that's exactly it. And you can play the pitching, play the stack, and get, Seager or Witt or Ohtani or like that. That's some glorious stuff. I guess second is going to be the Rockies.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm going to go to my stack summary here, which I can find in on RG. And so in terms of 5-mans, believe it or not, my top stack is Milwaukee. In terms of 4-mans, it's San Diego, for what that's worth. So
nobody asked you to break it up by size of stack, Will.
Correct. They did not. But I did give my two. So we're going to start answering questions, and then that should carry us to lock. I am going to start in the live stream chat. So if you're in the live stream chat and you've thrown some questions in there, that's where we're going to start. If you have not, don't worry. And there's only one question. This one is going to you, Cheese. This is NBA DFS. JT Money is typing, so we may get a few more questions now that I've told him where we're starting. Andrew Vaughn or Jankowski, DraftKings cash, last piece. Vaughn or Jankowski?
In cash, go with Jankowski.
Okay. All right. And then JT Money, he says, this is also for you, Cheese. Favorite 2 punts on FanDuel. Enjoy the ribs, my guy.
Yeah. Punts on FanDuel. I mean, it sort of depends what a punt counts as. Let me scroll down there a little bit then. Like if a guy didn't even like mention, like it depending on what you count as a punt. Like I would say like TJ Friedel. Like I'm looking at 2,600 and below. That's just kind of the number I pulled out is what might qualify as a punt. Hunter Goodman's a dollar more than that. Andrew Vaughn would be next.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good. Going over to UTJ. This is from MT Red Sox. Thoughts on Seattle for DraftKings single entry GPP, or just pay up for the Dodgers? Seattle or just pay up for the Dodgers?
I do like Seattle, but I like the Dodgers more.
Gotcha. This is coming from the Pharaoh. For you, Cheese, FanDuel Cash. This is a 3v3. Muncy, Freeman, Friedel, or Rojas, Josh Smith, Jonah Heim.
Muncy, Freeman, Friedel.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. All right, sounds good. That's all the questions in the YouTube, in the live stream chat. We are headed over to YouTube. This is coming from Power, not to be confused with the show Power on Stars. Who's your top 2 pitchers on DK? I will answer that one. I think we're all in agreement here. It is none other than Freddie Peralta and Cole Reagans. I think that's what we're doing. I think that's the consensus between all three.
Correct.
Correct, Chase? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got that. And Goomba says, Cheese, they only ask for your top punt, not your top 3 punts. They are laughing. Dean is in the chat saying we can possibly rank our stacks based on Marvel movies. Absolutely, Dean. This is our good friend, Daryl George, all the way from Florence, South Carolina. Yahoo Cash, with no Peralta on the slate, who is your best pitcher to pair with Reagans? TJ.
I am just pulling up Yahoo right now, looking at the prices. I would actually say maybe Mason Black, because he's all the way down at $25. I believe that's minimum price. I would probably do Mason Black, but if you wanted to double spend up, I would just do Bryce Miller with him.
Okay. Excuse me. Sounds good. We Major 72. Favorite starting pitcher on FanDuel, large field tourneys, TJ.
Reagans.
All right. Cheese, over to you. This is from Paul Hauser. Favorite cheat catcher in a DraftKings GPP? I think I know the answer to this, but I'll let you
do. Answer it for me, and do it.
It's the 2K guy. His name is eluding me right now.
Tyler Soderstrom.
Yeah, Soderstrom, the 2K guy. That's it.
Right.
Is this the same Paul Hauser that plays Stingray and Cobra Kai and just got cast in the Fantastic Four movie? I'm gonna need to know that.
It could, in fact, be.
Oh, man. Stingray from Cobra Kai. If he's in the chat right now, this is the greatest day of my life.
That guy's name is Paul Walter Hauser. So, I mean, this could be him without the Walter in there.
Right. He came to check in on his Agents of Fandom buddy. So
exactly.
There you have it. And I don't have any more questions, folks. And we've got 5 minutes left. So what I will say is this. I'm going to tell you guys how most of my lineups got built today. For what it's worth, Cheese, I mean, I am loaded. And I do mean loaded up on the expensive pitching today with Reagans, Peralta, Miller. And I've probably got more Nick Lodolo than the field as well. Like, I just kind of loaded up on the top end. I do have more Mason Black than I wanted. But a lot of my stacks are wraparounds today. So I'm going kind of, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. Like, I've got a fair amount of those. So just want to kind of give the people what I have because I'm mostly loaded up on top end pitching. As I'm talking, just to waste time, of course, Paul Hauser says his middle name is Walter. Fantastic. Jacob, DraftKings single entry, Cheese.
We can't just blow over that because if that would actually be Paul Walter Hauser, that would be wild if he's actually in chat. So if that is you, Paul Walter Hauser, we love you. We're big fans. Please follow me on Twitter and let us know if you have any questions. We got you. We got you. Even if you're just Paul Hauser, we still got you if you got any questions.
Yeah, all the Paul Hausers.
Yeah, I mean, if he likes PlayStation, he definitely likes DFS. So no question about it. Paul Hauser, welcome into the Roto Grinders family. This is coming from Jacob. DraftKings single entry, Cheese, one stack to win it all. Who are we going with?
I mean, I'm going with the White Sox. you probably don't win at all. You probably finished near the bottom with that. Like that is my answer. If I had one lineup today, period, it would have a White Sox stack.
Gotcha. Not the Prince. That's DA, not to be confused with THE. Thoughts on Donovan, TJ? I'm assuming Donovan from St. Louis. I could be wrong.
Zero Brendan Donovan for me today.
Yep, same here. David Porter says Brew Crew. I love the Brew Crew tonight. I have them aplenty. No other questions in the live stream chat. No other questions in the YouTube chat, and we've got 3 minutes. I will let's just kind of give our final thoughts generally about the slate. Someone came in late, forgot our beautiful faces. We're going to be on the stream tonight. TJ, general synopsis. How do you want to approach this slate?
Spending up at pitching with my priorities being in this order: Cole Ragans, Freddie Peralta, Bryce Miller, Nick Lodolo, and then Mason Black is the one cheapie that I'm going with if I need to use a cheapie. Corey Seager and Shohei Ohtani are going to be my top individual spend ups on the slate, and then the Padres and the Rockies are my favorite tournament stacks on the slate.
All right, Chief, and over to you. Your closing last minute overview. This is how I want to, view this slate. That's how I want to play, and then we'll close this thing out.
Yeah, get those good pitchers. And I don't have a strong lean between a cheap punt with expensive one-offs or an expensive stack with cheap one-offs. But either way, like, prioritize the pitching and fish for some cheap power because there's plenty of it.
Absolutely. Folks, we're going to close this thing out. Give you 2 minutes back into your lives to continue to refine those lineups. I'm Chief. That's Cheese. That's TJ. This has been Crunch Time on a Saturday. We'll see you back here tomorrow.